Alright y'all, so I got a video request for my maintenance on my dart frog tanks. So this is going to be a short video, but stay tuned if you want to know what I do for my tanks on a weekly or even monthly basis. I just got in this Peter Stokeby Luxury Flake pipe tobacco. I'm so anxious to try this. Stuff smells so good. Alright, so I got a comment on the Luca Mellis Vivarium build video that asked, from Jeremy Anderson, could you do a maintenance video, like weekly or monthly? How often do you spray? When do you remove excess water, etc.? Currently I have 3 of these 12x12x18 Exoterras. This one's actually a Zoom Ed. I come to prefer the Exoterras. The reason being is this gap down here, like the spot where you put all the substrate and everything, it's actually wider on the Exoterras than it is the Zoom Eds, but the Zoom Eds do have the single pane door, which I do like more than the Exoterras. Both do well, both work fine. So what I do on a regular basis for my tanks is pretty simple. The nice thing about Vivaria and Vivariums is they really don't require a whole lot of attention. They don't require a whole lot of maintenance. Once they're established and they're going, they're a breeze. They really don't require a whole lot of attention. So I'll show you a prime example. So this is my Ranatomea variabilis tank. You can see her tucked back in there, hanging out. It's just her. She's probably trying to figure out why the hell the lights are on. We'll start at the bottom. I drain out my layers here. Usually once the water level starts hitting that substrate barrier. You really don't want your soil and whatnot to be sitting in water, because then your plants are going to start drowning. You're going to have all kinds of issues with anaerobic bacteria and stuff like that. It's not good. You want there to be space here. You want somewhere for that water to go. Like this tank is a prime example. This needs to be drained soon. This is getting pretty high. So I drain the tank, and what I have here is just a turkey baster. And normally this tank doesn't have the little PVC pipe. You can see it here in my Vanzolini tank, little 1/2-inch PVC pipe with a cap that goes down to the bottom. What I do is I just remove that PVC pipe, suck out the water several times, dump it in here, do that until it's pretty much where this is at right here, which is exactly where I want it. Because you're not going to get it completely gone. It's never, eventually you're going to be getting, you know, this much water out of the bottom after you've siphoned it out a couple times. So you're always going to have at least a little bit of water in there, but you don't want this much water. As far as drainage, I do that maybe twice a month. I do miss a little on the heavier end, so I do it a little more often than other people might. These small Exoterras, obviously because there's not a ton of surface area compared to the bigger tanks, they fill up quicker, so I'm having to do them a little more regularly. As far as other maintenance goes, we'll start with the plants. I really don't mess with the plants too much. There's a few species that seem to really get out of hand, like the creeping Jenny. I don't even know the scientific name for that one, but it takes over. It's a small little vining plant. In this tank in particular, this Photonia usually has to get trimmed. I just trimmed off a piece right here because it was all the way to the top. Once they start getting close to the glass, kind of like this up here, it's usually time to trim it back a little bit. But for the most part, I try to let it kind of grow out and do its own thing. You can see here in the Vanzolini tank, you know, everything's still kind of growing out here. But eventually, I know this will need to be trimmed. This will probably need to be trimmed. It's growing. This is growing crazy fast. I think this is a begonia or Photonia. This is definitely a begonia. This is a begonia rex. That's growing really nicely. So those I trim sort of whenever I think they need to be trimmed. Sometimes it's once a month. Sometimes it's every other week, whatever. Depends on the plant, depends on how fast it grows. But for the most part, I try to just let the plants do their thing, go where they want to go, grow where they want to grow, and really not worry about it too much. So I mist my tanks in the mornings usually. I mist by hand. I don't have an automatic system or anything like that. I've only got a handful of tanks with frogs in it. I really don't need to invest in a Mist King, I don't think. The guys that have like full-blown rooms of frogs, I do understand why they would need a Mist King. It makes more sense. You know, when you have that many tanks, you're probably going to want to save some time because you'll be spending a good bit of hours misting everything and making sure everything's where it needs to be. I mist mine by hand. It lets me check in on things, see where the frogs are at, what they're doing. Other than that, I really don't do much. You do want to add leaves, like leaf litter periodically. When I noticed that most of the leaves I originally put in the tank have kind of broken down and they're kind of look like leaves, but they're more like a pulp at that point, then it's time to throw some new ones in. Mostly the oak leaves are kind of the ones with that I notice are more of an issue. Magnolia leaves do break down over time. It just takes forever. It's a very thick cuticle leaf, and that's why they're so popular, is because they're so thick. They look really well, really great. They don't break down very quickly, I should say. So they're just the perfect addition to any vivarium. Other than that, I mean, that's it, y'all. Before I forget, I will also periodically add isopods and springtails to a tank. Normally, if I'm still seeing a good bit crawling around in there, I won't really mess with it. But if I'm not seeing as many, then it's time to add some, because especially with the Ranitomea, like, they will eat the springtails and the small isopods, like the little tiny ones that look like little white specks. They'll eat those, so they are a source of food in a sense for the smaller species, or even some of the froglets. So they do need to be added periodically back. Give that colony, if you want to call it that, give that colony a little bit of a boost. That's it. I mean, other than that, they're very little maintenance. I'd honestly put them on par with snakes in terms of how much time you're spending per week in, working on these things and keeping the cage clean, so to speak. Highly recommend them. Building them is a blast. It's so much fun. That's one of the most addicting parts of it, is, being able to create a little sort of slice of the jungle in your own room. Getting to hear the frogs call throughout the day is really cool too. Some people might find that annoying if you don't like constant chirps and noises. I really dig it. I really like it. The Vanzolini, one of them is a male for sure. I'm pretty sure it's a pair. It looks like a pair. Male Vanzolini, he calls all the time, and it's really nice. It's a little high-pitched chirp. I mean, that's it, y'all. Definitely worth trying. Definitely worth doing. Dart frogs are not difficult. At least the species that are commonly kept. There are some species that you get into that are a little harder to find, and those are a little more delicate, but your Tinctorius, your Aratus, your Leucomelis, the beginner Ranitomea, like the Variabilis southern, the Vanzolini, like none of those are really difficult. Also, know that I am semi-new to dart frogs. I've only been keeping mine for going on a year come, I think, November. I don't have a ton of experience. If you do have any questions, Poison Dart Froggers is a group on Facebook that's got a ton of great people with great information. Hit up Matt at Cloud Force Designs. He's the one who makes these labels that basically they give you a picture of the species in the tank. They're red list, so are they threatened, are they endangered, vulnerable, critically endangered, extinct? Then it gives you a little map with their range, and then it gives you a little information on their habitat and their breeding. He does these for more than just frogs. He does these for snakes and lizards and all kinds of stuff. Tarantulas. He's adding more all the time. So, Cloud Force Designs. Definitely check him out on Facebook. These things are great. If you have visitors, it's nice to know they can look at this and kind of know what's in that tank. It's a nice little accent, and they're like $5 a piece. They're cheap. But if you have any information or have any questions, like I said, hit up Matt, hit up Alex at Frog Daddy, who I've mentioned before. Dart frog groups on Facebook, Southeastern Dart Froggers, Poison Dart Froggers. There's a few that I'm in. I'm not really active in them. I'm just kind of there lurking and watching and reading. So if you have any more questions, as always, please leave them in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram at Palmetto Coast Exotics. Check out the ChondroCast, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. Check out the Herpetoculture Podcast, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. Thank you.